hard to believe it's been 50 years since the death of running icon Steve Prefontaine. Now a new book takes us inside the life of this sports legend. We welcome the author of The Frontrunner, Brendan O'Meara. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my goodness, what a pleasure to be here, Hannah.
Congratulations on the book. It's so fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. It was a lot of effort on a lot of people on the production chain. I was blessed with a brilliant editor, and we brought in something that we're pretty proud of.
I think this is the comprehensive text on Pre. I mean, there's so much detail, even beginning before his birth, the way you talk about his parents' lives and how that kind of informs his childhood, and then going forward from there. I'm biased, I'm a Duck, and I lived in Coos Bay for a bit, so I was so excited to dive into this. How did you approach a project about somebody who a lot has already been written about?
Yeah, the key with anything is, you read everything that's been written about him, and then you're like, okay, here are some slices that maybe can deserve better treatment. And given that there's a 50-year remove, and we have access to such better online archives, newspapers.com is just the gift of all gifts for a biographer. And so you can go into California newspapers, North Carolina newspapers, Oregon, of course, and then you just start building out the mosaic, and you find names that have not been on the record before. There are a lot of other sort of charismatic, people of the day who were on the record and spoken fondly of him for decades. But then to find other people who beat him in high school, and you can find a Bob Hilton or a Greg Barnett, just names lost to history, but they have their little slice of Steve, and then you're able to build out like a 3D printer by triangulating from all these sources.
It's fun to hear those stories of the upperclassmen from his high school days who were beating him. I mean, he had to work really hard to get to that level where he was the guy on the team. Tell me about spending time in Coos Bay and interviewing all these people and finding them in the first place. I know it must have been so fun for them to relive some of those memories with you.
Yeah, what was great of interviewing, primarily I did a lot of phone research, but I was able to go down to Coos Bay and Fran Worthen, who was a brilliant sprinter in the early 70s, and a sprinter and long jumper. And it was great to just have her take me to Pirate Stadium, show me the track that he set so many records on, won so many races, organized the Finn tour and brought the Finns over, and they ran at his high school track that was not 100% graded correctly and everything. So, and she drove me along the running routes. I wasn't going to run those routes.
No.
Nope.
It's a passenger situation.
Exactly. So I'm fine to be in her SUV as we're cruising around Coos Bay. I'm like, okay, I can imagine Steve being at the head of the pack here alone, just driven by some internal motor that few of us have, but he had in spades.
We talked about that it's the 50-year anniversary. I think on this day, 50 years ago, he won his final race at Hayward Field, which is kind of gives me chills to think about that. And he was wearing a black singlet that day, right?
Yeah.
Which he never did.
Never wore black. He wore, post-college, he would wear, the Oregon Track Club singlet with that cool, O and triangle tree. Yeah. Sometimes a Team USA singlet, often an Oregon one. But yeah, to wear a black one on the day that he would, eventually pass a few hours after his final race was awfully foreboding and just really, really bizarre. And
all the images from that meet will be, we'll forever look at those and just realize that was the only time he wore that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just all the more cosmic that it was a Thursday on May 29th, 1975 that he ran, in the evening there at Hayward, running against Frank Shorter and coming short of his own American record in the 5,000. And then, tomorrow was a Friday when he passed.
He's so prolific, and that phrase pre-lives. Obviously you understand what that means, but you write about he never won an Olympic medal and he never broke a world record, and yet he is this larger-than-life figure, not just in track, but in sport, right? Is it kind of striking when you realize those stats, they don't really line up with kind of the hero that we make him out to be? Yeah,
there was so much about him that was so magnetic. He never mailed in a race.
Yeah.
He could have won dozens of races by throttling down to maybe 80% and still winning. But he was a showman before showmanship was a thing, certainly in middle distance running. And so he would take it to the field as a front runner, and it was the more exciting thing that anyone could watch, because it's kind of, you're out there and you're daring everyone to keep pace, and it's like, can he sustain that? And so the crowd loved him.
Yeah.
He was great copy in the newspaper. He had the look, and he, as Bowerman once said, he had a higher standard than victory. So he could have run a mediocre race and win, or run a great race and lose, but he was always going to show up Other runners, if they didn't feel great, they might just peel off the track and say, get another day. Not Steve.
His activism for athletes too, I mean, it's so relevant today, and within a few years of his passing, I mean, the whole sport would change, and amateurism and track and field in general. I mean, does it strike you, all the stuff that we talk about now with NIL and college athletes making money? I think he would be pretty pumped about a lot of this stuff.
Oh, exactly. In a lot of ways, the story is about exploitation, and his story is really pushing up against the power structures of the time. And the original subtitle of the book had something to do with him being the dawn of the modern athlete, because so much of what we are seeing today, 50 years later, NIL, lots of sponsorships, endorsements, good nutrition, good medical, and the capacity to train on your own, unencumbered from a day job that would rob you of the best hours of your day. A lot of that was rooted at the time that he was at his peak.
Yeah, the timing and the circumstance, the serendipity of him getting to run for Bill Bowerman, which I didn't realize Bowerman had coached the high school coach that Pre would run for, so there was a connection there. Phil Knight being there, I mean, many people say Nike today wouldn't be what it is without Pre. Maybe it wouldn't exist at all.
Yeah, Steve certainly was their firstborn, and he was able to give them the altitude they needed to eventually take it to where we see them today. And I'm so glad you brought up Walt McClure, who is Bowerman's disciple. I was really happy in this book to give Steve's high school coaches and Walt McClure and Phil Persian more real estate than they probably ever had before, because to their credit, Bill Bowerman and Bill Dellinger get a lot of the credit and a lot of the ink around Steve, and deservedly so. But McClure and Persian were every bit as formative, if not, and in some ways more so. So to give them their due in this story and build them up and give them their due felt awfully good.
Yeah, you've uncovered some incredible stuff, and thank you so much for joining us today. It was great chatting with you.
My gosh, what a pleasure, Hannah.
Okay, want to let everyone know Brendan has a book signing this evening at 7 p.m. It's at Powell's Books in Cedar Hills Boulevard. The book, again, is The Front Runner, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.